Shox, aka Richard Papillon, Papillon? That's it, Papillon. Now for those less acquainted with the French language than the likes of myself with a grade C in GCSE French, Papillon is French for butterfly, and while Shox floats like a butterfly, when push comes to shove, he most certainly stings like a bee. Since the early days of Global Offensive, Shox has always been a monster on Dust2, and with the game advancing so much in recent years, we're going to delve into Shox's playstyle around mid and B on CT Dust2 and what allows him time and time again to have such a massive impact. When talking historically about the best pistol players in CSGO, Shox's name should always be in the conversation, and on this round we'll witness the Frenchman's pistol prowess. With his kit and 2 flashes in hand, Shox will make his way onto the B site through window, and looking at the minimap we can see Vitality are stacking towards mid and B. After jiggling tunnels early, Shox tangles with ZywOo as he makes his way back towards mid. And given that Vitality have seen nothing thus far on this round, Shox just holds towards long, and then a few seconds later gives mid a couple of jiggle peeks. Now as Shox is peeking around long and mid, NIP is grouping up towards B, and Vitality will eventually get some much needed information from ZywOo's contact. Rotating back in, Shox throws 2 flashes against the wall before swinging in with his teammates and taking the head off 1, 2 and 3 NIP players in quick succession before falling to the 4th, as Shox reminds us of his world-class mechanical ability which frequently surfaces on these pistol rounds. As a B-site player on CT Dust2, dealing with B splits and pressure from multiple directions can be a difficult task, and here we're going to see how Shox triumphs in an unlikely situation. Now something you'll notice is that this game was played before the doors changes. Unfortunately, we don't have so many games to work with from Shox post the doors update. Now after molling tunnels and going anti-flash in case of a rush, Shox drops his smoke and makes his way to this close corner as his opponents in NIP are starting to make their way out mid. With NIP moving into their split and Masuta going down, Shox uses his HE and flashes over, finding a trio of very fast frags, while moving back through the doors and silencing Twist to make it 4 kills in the round as the Frenchman decides to add another clip to his highlight reel during this game. Now although with the doors changes you won't be able to swing out and get behind the boxes, the important takeaway from this round is that Shox wasn't going to sit back and let himself get pinched whilst being solo on the site. Instead, he chose to fight towards mid, try to make a play, and clearly it worked out for Shox in spectacular fashion as he single-handedly wiped out his opposition. With the doors now reversed, this round is going to kick off with the Frenchman playing 3 towards B, as Vitality clearly have a read in mind of what FaZe is likely to be doing. Now with Shox, he has no utility and will be looking towards mid early. Now in this spot, Shox is doing something which I like to call being naturally anti-flash, meaning that he will dodge any flashes from tunnels or coming over the top while still holding mid. Now looking at the map, we can see that FaZe will be going for a B rush, and it's a good thing that Shox is anti-flash for tunnels. Now I'm pausing as Masuta goes down. Shox moves towards car, but unfortunately is forced to fall even deeper by the flash. Now making himself a harder target, Shox stayed on the move, picking up 2 fast frags to close out the round as Vitality gets their reward, making the perfect call and stacking B. Of course, as a B-site player on Dust2, particularly in matchmaking, you're going to find yourselves in many in a retake, and next up we're going to break down a trio of rounds ending in those A-site retakes. So on this round, Vitality are on a bonus round and decide to go aggressively towards mid and tunnels, with Shox being solo. Flashing tunnels early since he was lacking a molly just to slow down a potential rush, and then Shox decides to push upper tunnels whilst his teammates are falling towards lower tunnels. Getting 1 kill here on Nork, Shox joins up with his teammates in mid, then smokes the right of Xbox so that he can escape into CT spawn. Meanwhile, NIP has 4 towards long, and Shox notices a gap in the cross smoke and punishes NIP with a kill on 2 campers. Now, in this 2 versus 2, Shox is conscious of mid and decides to show some presence from CT before rotating over to short and joining Apex. So with Apex coming up here on to short, makes his way up and finds a really great frag onto Res, and then scopes around, starts playing for information before swinging out with Shox once he joins up to him in a few moments, swinging out and getting the final kill for Vitality, securing the round where, despite an early deficit, Shox and Apex played a great retake to snatch the round back from the Swedish side. Secondary AWPing as the B rotator on Dust2 is extremely common, and Shox will indeed be wielding the big green on this occasion. So swinging in front of the cross smoke, Shox spots a player moving down suicide and decides to go anti-flash. So the reason Shox is going anti-flash is in case NIP wanted to flash through the doors and go fast towards mid or catwalk. And of course, Shox just spotted Hampus running down suicide, which means a fast play is certainly on the cards. So as the flash pops, Shox peeks out and picks up a great frag onto Hampus, trying to go fast up catwalk. And immediately rotating into B, Shox moves towards the platform before deciding to flash in Masuta for an information play, since Vitality knew NIP had numbers out long. So with this info, Shox moves into playing from the left side of CT spawn and scoping up here on long. Now with NIP grouping up into working up long, the cross smokes will soon begin to come in, and Shox holds the jump up on to the bomb site before falling into a more passive angle. Now after some frags start to come in, using his nades, Shox will smoke to the right of the smoke and then flashes in Masuta to swing, but unfortunately he'll get traded out, leaving Shox with his AWP in a 1 versus 2. Playing around the edge of the smoke, Shox misses this easy shot before hitting the much more difficult headshot with his USP. Next up, Shox moves into the smoke, and I suspect very much surprises Nork, finding his 3rd kill for the round to remind us that Shox is no slouch with the AWP in hand. So on this round, Apex is going to get boosted early onto catwalk, and Shox decides to play towards mid and help out his teammates. And now, as we can see, Shox is now jiggling from the right side of mid, and then mollies as the Xbox smoke comes in to prevent NIP from getting fast up catwalk before picking up a slightly fortunate spam kill, putting Vitality into a 4-on-4 situation. Using his flash, Shox repeats mid before smoking the doors. And with a teammate up on catwalk, he decides to move close behind the smoke before jumping and almost kills Res, then thinks better of the fight and begins to fall back. Now, hearing the players running around above him, Shox slowly works his way up the ramp and then takes the head off of Res. And though one player is long, Shox keeps his back to the wall as he falls, and with Nork going down, Shox knows the last player is long, then swinging out wide, Shox finishes off Hampus and secures the round for the French squad. So I hope during this look at Shox, you guys can understand why many people within the scene, myself included, hold the Frenchman in such high regard, particularly over here on Dust2, and as a bonus, maybe think about implementing some of his playstyle and approaches within your own games. Anyways, that is everything for this video. Let me know below what you would like to see next. Head over to my Discord to stay up to date with upcoming content. Other social medias are linked below. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.